Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Care to go ahead and get right into it?
Let's do it.
Alright, hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Part 2. Joining me today is...
Yeah, boy, Rasco.
Indeed. Rasco, we're continuing our fan film review series, but we're also continuing Horror Month, so what are we reviewing today?
We're reviewing it.
What are we reviewing?
We're reviewing it. What do you mean?
Who's on first? So, this is not a complaint about the fan film. This is a complaint about Stephen King. It is a stupid name for a book. Like, at the time of the movie, they don't really, in the book, the movie, the stuff, from what I understand, no, they don't really call it It. They straight up call it Pennywise the Clown. They have a bunch of other names for it. I don't understand why It is the name that gets assigned to the creature. But what you gonna do? So anyway, yes, we're reviewing It fan film. And this is a fan film that adapts basically what I guess is the first chapter of the book. It's basically the opening scene of the movie, wherein Billy and Georgie are making a paper boat, and Georgie loses the paper boat in the sewer and is confronted by Pennywise for the first time. So what made you choose this, Rasco?
Well, obviously, we just had a new It movie come out recently, and when I went to see that movie, I didn't really like how they handled that scene in the movie, and so when I saw this fan film, I was like, oh, it's just kind of that scene. Well, let's see if other people also don't satisfy me with how they achieved that scene.
Rasco, were you satisfied with how they achieved this scene?
Not really.
Want to be more specific than that, or?
Yeah, so I can do that. Well, actually, I don't want to start off with the negative stuff because I feel like it kind of starts off pretty good, and then all the stuff I don't like is kind of like at the very end of this. And it's a lot of like things that are like, well, what do you expect? Like, it's all like, I'm just gonna sound like a total asshole here because it's pretty much everything I'm about to complain about. Well, when I get there, everything that I don't like is stuff that's like totally understandable. It's just I don't like it still, so I'm going to complain. But it comes from a place of actual criticism, so don't take this as bullying. But let's start off with the good stuff. So this was like surprisingly competent in the beginning. I thought it was really cool, where there was just like a lot of deliberate thought went into the shots. They definitely had a shot list. They definitely, like they had to at least do some planning, right? Even when you just have a shot where someone walks in a room and then they walk and the camera just pans with them and then they're now in a new location. I mean, there's some planning involved there. You have to know where they're going to end up. You have to know what it's going to look like when they first walk in. You have to make sure you get the pan right. There's all sorts of things like that. Yeah, and it's not like rocket science.
Yeah, I'd say this is pretty well cut for like a lot of fan films that we've talked about, where like they got like added space where things are just taking too long to happen, that kind of thing. This does a pretty good job of just like, it's still got a certain mood and stuff to it, but it does a pretty good job of just letting things happen, the instant the shot starts is when someone's coming in frame or leaving frame, you know?
Yeah.
There's not a lot of, like, wasted time in their establishing shots.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I like that. Like, it just felt like when I was watching this, it didn't feel like people just goofing off. It felt like they were prepared. They knew what they wanted to see. They knew how to achieve it, yada, yada, yada. And then I kind of feel like that goes away by the end. And so what I don't really like about a lot of it is, one, I don't really like Pennywise as like the actor, and I just didn't really care at all, which is like weird because I feel the same way about like Pennywise in the movie, but I don't mind as much in the movie because there's more there. This is obviously, it's just 9 minutes and it's kind of just that first scene. So Pennywise, I didn't really love Pennywise in this.
What specifically about it?
The voice was one thing. If you don't have a weird voice, you're kind of just shit out of luck in this case. But even then, like, there are some people they're truly like great at altering the way they sound. And even Bill Skarsgård in the movie, like, he doesn't sound anything like he does when he's playing Pennywise. And I just feel like if I were to talk to that actor, he'd probably just sound like Pennywise, like how Pennywise sounds.
You think he's not doing much of a voice here? You think he's just more or less talking?
Yeah.
Yeah. I would tend to agree with this. Yeah, Skarsgård, and I mean, it's a little unfair to compare a fan film to a professional actor in a film, but Skarsgård has, like, this, like, oh, it's Georgie, like this, like, bounciness to his voice. When
it's playful.
Yeah, and this doesn't quite have that. It's got a little bit, but not nearly as much. It feels like it's trying to do it before it feels like it's its own thing. I think that's fair. I'm not really impressed with the acting, more or less across the board in this one.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, I don't think any of the actors do a particularly good job. I don't think any of them are hard to watch or awful. Like, I didn't mind the Pennywise here, but it didn't really stick out to me. Excuse me, got hiccups. It didn't really stand out to me as anything special, so that was part of it. What's his name with the glasses? Crap.
The older brother?
No, the kid with the glasses on his bike. Crap, that's gonna bother the hell out of me. Anyway, like, it's odd, but maybe it's just because he's on screen the least amount of time, but I totally bought him more than I bought anyone else in this, which is weird. I think this is a weird fan film because, like, I don't really care too much about the acting one way or the other. I think at best it's passable. At worst it's a little like, whatever. I don't think, like, any of the acting's cringeworthy or anything like that. The kid that's playing Georgie, I mean, he's obviously a lot younger than everyone else, probably someone's little brother or something. I think he does a fair job, given, some line delivery is better than others. I think he's really good in the Pennywise scene. I think he's kind of weak in the scene with his brother, right? Mm-hmm. The acting doesn't really get anything to me. I have mixed feelings on this one on the technical side of stuff. Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, I think it's really reasonably well cut. A lot of fan films do this, short films, people making films do this, where, again, they just have lingering shots that don't really need to be there. They don't add anything. It's just you're wanting to give people more time to figure out what's happening.
Yeah.
This doesn't have that, and that's really impressive. At the same time, there are some other technical limitations that I see a lot of people stumble across, and so it's worth mentioning. First and foremost, the audio. I've watched this twice now. Once on my television, once on my computer while wearing headphones. Now, my television, I've talked about it before, you can hear it from across the room when the volume's on 2 for most things. It's pretty damn loud. I had to bump that up to, like, the high 40s to watch this, which is a pretty good indicator that it's too damn quiet for the, like, 90% of the dialogue.
Yeah.
Watched it with headphones on, heard everything just fine, which leads me to the conclusion they probably edited the sound for this with headphones. Don't do that. That is a piece of advice I always give, not just to filmmakers, literally anyone that ever does anything touching an editing board. You can edit with headphones on, but when it comes to finalizing the levels on your audio, do not wear headphones while you do it. Because your perspective is so... your perception, not perspective, since we're talking hearing. Your perception is so skewed because the audio source is literally right in your ear compared to how 90% of people hear things, which is through things across the room, through speakers and stuff like that. You can do your audio editing and all that. You can do your editing with headphones, but when it comes time to finalize your levels, take the headphones off, listen with speakers. Because you'll just lose so much. And, like, I have a feeling that with the storm and everything, they had to clean up the dialogue here. There's probably, like, wind sound effects. And so I could understand your audio being, like, poorer for the outside stuff. Dub it in would be one suggestion. Clean it up as best you can, and then boost the audio, and then clean that up again. It might sound too filtered. Do different takes. There's not a lot you can do about that except just, plan things out a little bit better. But end of the day, when you have to watch this with headphones or with, the volume blasting to get it, that ends up being a problem. Another thing that I'm on the fence on, like, I like that they did it. I thought it was cool that they managed it, but I think that they could have done a better job, and I have, like, very specific things that I could recommend to improve the effect, is the composite shot from inside the sewer.
Yeah.
What'd you think of that shot?
I looked at that, and I was like, I feel like this could be better, and it's not horrible. Like, I didn't think it was horrible. To me, one of the biggest problems was that it looked a little shaky. Sometimes, like, what was outside was kind of shaking a little bit, and that was kind of distracting because it, like, at that point, it wouldn't actually look like that. What's outside the sewer should be locked. Like, it should be coming into view and out of view. It shouldn't be kind of, like, shaking a little bit.
Yeah, and it's weird. I'm trying to figure out exactly how they got the shot outside the sewer. Because what I think they did is they probably set the camera maybe on the sewer and then just shot the kid talking to the camera and then composited in the like, concrete or steel or whatever this is supposed to be. And maybe it's just the rain and the water and the foliage, but, like, something about that has kind of a green hue. I've got it paused at 640 right now, just looking at the video. It's got kind of a green hue, which, like, maybe leads me to believe that they did some chroma key work. I'm really not sure. But ultimately, the biggest problem with with this composite of what is supposed to be the inside of the sewer grate is it's too flat. It has no dimension. It looks like they just got a, like, stock image of dark concrete or metal or something, and then just cut the shape of the sewer out. It's also too small for the sewer grate we see. It just doesn't look wide enough. But it looks like they cut the shape of the sewer grate out of a still image. And that's a good start for a composite. What it needs is depth to it. And so any program that allows you to composite like this should allow you to do, what's the word for it? Very, very basic 3D work. So in Vegas, which is the program I used to edit, and I don't know what this was edited in, I was trying to figure that out. Though I could search the comments real quick. Let me just do something really, really fast, okay? But in Vegas, there's this option on your video tracks to do what's called 3D Source Alpha, where you can manipulate the tracks in a 3D space, where you can just, like, you can have just video that goes like sideways or whatever, and to show what I'm talking about, I'll do it right here on video. But you can like manipulate objects from a three-dimensional plane, and so you could take this sewer grate thing and manipulate it in such a way that you could actually use the same texture that you're using from your source file for the composite, create a slight bit of depth by having that go at like a 80-degree angle or something to the rest of the video, map it around the rectangle, and then do a slightly smaller composite rectangle within that, so it looks like just the grate of the sewer. And that's a really complicated way to say the composite looks too flat, here's how you could fix it. But just something to chew on, because I feel I see a lot of talent here, but I see a lot of learning curve talent here, where it's like they've got a lot to learn, but there's a clear skill set here.
Yeah, I definitely agree. That's what's really like interesting about this to me, is that like it actually gets a lot of things that we've seen some other fan films that are really ambitious, and they might be, you know, like 30 minutes long, but I feel like they are weaker in regards to just some basic technique when it comes to just making things, and like, well, how much coverage do you need, and how many shots do you really need, and how do you edit those shots together, how much do you need to cut off the beginning and ending, yada yada, that kind of stuff. That stuff is pretty well handled here, and then by the end, I feel like there's a couple places where they don't know what they're like, where they don't really know what they or how to achieve what they want. Mainly Pennywise at the very end, just kind of freaking out. I feel like it becomes like a really weird, jumbled edit, and I don't like it.
Could you elaborate on that some more?
Okay, so one, I think that there's way too much there, for one. There's like a bunch of cuts there's a bunch of different angles that they want. Like they have this one of Georgie when Pennywise first grabs his arm and pulls it in, okay? Then you have, literally it's like the same angle. The camera is like on the same side of Georgie. It's now just like a foot farther away from Georgie. And I always bitch about that in like any movie that I see that in. And it's not a big deal, but it's just something that always irks me, because it's like, that is like the definition of a useless angle, unless the point is like it's a really big close-up and then you pull back to a really big wide and now there's all this empty space. But that's not what happened here. It's just you go from one angle to essentially the same angle a foot farther away, then you cut to this angle behind Georgie's legs, then we start cutting back to this other angle of him struggling with his arm, and then we cut to this weird overhead angle where it's like these two black bars are like added, and we go from like
that was weird.
Yeah, it's like because I think the idea was we want, like, this is like the big crescendo. This is like where the shit hits the fan, and how do we do that? Like, how do we make this exciting? And I kind of feel like their idea was, well, let's just do a bunch and then just show it all together, and that will just be exciting, and you'll be like, whoa. And it was kind of the thing that bothered me to a lesser degree with this scene in the movie, actually. But it was just, I think less could be more in this specific case.
That's understandable, and I would tend to agree with you there. I think there's just too much going on. Again, the shot where, like, it looks like they just wanted to do a pan-over shot, but they didn't have physical camera movement, so they just decided to move the video frame in post.
Yeah.
And it's never something you want to do.
Yeah.
Unless you're trying to be Ang Lee's Hulk or something, unless you have a very specific purpose.
And you're going to be doing that continuously throughout the thing.
Behind physically moving the frame of your video, that's a weird thing to do, and you don't want to do it too often. If you don't have natural camera movement, doing it digitally is a really dangerous move. Like, doing digital movements is a dangerous move as like in place of a shot. Let me put it that way. I also I don't like the kids screaming. Like, that's, I have no doubt in my mind the kid is trying the best he can. It's not convincing. It's unfortunately on that grounds where it starts to become a little bit comical. And we talked about this a couple weeks ago with the Harley Quinn Joker fan film. You literally do not see Georgie's face during that. Literally anyone could have been screaming. You could have gone on YouTube and searched child screams in pain sound. You could have ripped something from a horror movie where a kid's screaming or something, or crying or whatever. You can dub that in, and even if it was obvious that it was dubbed, it probably would have worked better.
Probably.
So, like, we are very, very, I don't want to say negative, we're very critical of this one. Because, like, I like a lot of what's done, I just feel like I feel like these filmmakers got a lot to learn, but they're clearly talented, and there's going to be more that happens from them.
Yeah, definitely. Like, this is the kind of thing where I'm actually more interested to watch, like, another one of the short films that they would put out, more so than some of the other ones that we look at. Like, for example, I'm not as interested in seeing other things that, like, Bat in the Sun has done. I'm not as excited to go and seek those out as I am to, like, watch for growth and things like this. Mm-hmm. Just because it's, like, a little bit more interesting to me. But that, again, there's a lot to pick apart here, but it's only because what doesn't work, it sticks out because there's so much other stuff in this. There's so much stuff in this where there's, like, literally, like, nothing to complain about for the most part.
Yeah, we haven't talked about the beginning of it very much with them inside the house. Is there anything that jumps to mind for that for you?
Nothing that there's nothing that jumps out there that I really have anything meaningful to critique, honestly.
Okay. I just want to say, like, I like this shot in the attic of, like, the kind of, you know, observer shot, purveyor or whatever you call it, where it's like someone, you know, spying on someone else.
Uh-huh.
Like, I like that shot. That was cool.
Yeah.
I thought the shot of painting the boat, the wax on the boat, was kind of cool. Just, you know, nice, interesting angle. Mm-hmm. I will say I do have one complaint. I should do some quick research on the fly here. Let's figure out, not research on the movie The Fly, but research on...
Gotta research David Cronenberg's The Movie The Fly really fast.
When was the Furby created? 1998. There's a Furby in the room. This is set in 1987. That's
blown.
Yep.
Ruined it.
Yep.
It's done.
Yep. That was the nail in the coffin. No, like, I do think that is, again, it's a very small detail thing, but you do see it in the background of the room while they're talking. This is set in 1987. They say it at the beginning. They don't say it's the it of 2017 or anything like that. They say pretty blatantly it's set in 1987, as it's more or less directly adapted from the Stephen King novel. And this is something that, like, yeah, it doesn't really have much that screams out as it's not the late 80s. There's, like, very little here that you could do that would really ruin that. How truly different is everything from the late 80s, just architecture, you know, fashion-wise for kids. There's not, like, a ton that's changed. But at the same time, when it's something as basic as just making sure that a Furby isn't in the shot, it's kind of a detail thing that you should keep your eyes out for, things like that, if you can do quote-unquote period pieces. So it's more the fact that it's clearly a mistake and obviously not intentional, and it kind of breaks the setting a little bit. That's worth talking about there. So it by no means breaks the movie or the film in any way. It's just a little detail thing. Keep an eye out for stuff like that in future projects.
Yeah.
What else can we talk about with this? We need a couple more minutes.
Oh, this is just random, but I kind of liked the balloon. Did we ever talk about, like, the balloon effect?
No.
I mean, I'm gonna assume it was an effect because it kind of looked like one, but I mean, I thought that was handled pretty well. It was just a really tiny thing. I thought the balloon looked pretty convincing.
Yeah, I'd agree. I wasn't sure if it was a digital effect or not. If it was, I mean, it probably was because it's just a little too stable, a little too perfectly colored. But it's well integrated. It looks solid. Yeah, I'd agree. I like the balloon. How'd you feel about Pennywise's makeup, even though you didn't care much for the actor?
I don't know. So one, he's lit pretty dark, so like I don't know how all of it looks in context. He looks a little too obviously evil for me. That's a thing that I just kind of bothers me about Pennywise. I like him to look a little bit less obviously evil, and the weird like tear of like red from his eye. It's like done in a way that kind of like looks like he's crying blood, and it just kind of inherently looks like there's no way on earth that clown could be anything but an evil demon.
That's fair, because that's the thing is like Tim Curry and the new versions, like they just look like normal clowns. It's the way they act that makes them creepy. Whereas this guy's acting creepy from the beginning, and he also kind of has a menacing look on his face. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd agree. Like I thought the makeup was well placed. It's just it's tonally off from what that scene's point is, because the point is he's supposed to be luring Georgie. He's supposed to be, tricking him into a false sense of security. And I don't know, the most unbelievable part of this is the kid is still talking to that damn clown. Because he is at no point charming or funny or anything. Sure. Yeah. So we were pretty hard on this one, but again, I feel like it's in service of, wanting to see them do more, wanting to see them get a bit better. So if you're listening, directors, writers, people involved, please let us know next time you do if you do a fan film project. We'll definitely check it out. Let's go ahead and go on to ratings. You go first, Raska. I'm curious.
I'm gonna give this three Furbies out of 5.
Really? 3? I feel like that's probably too high. I feel like you're being a little too generous there. I'm going to go with a 2 out of 5 because it's just a little below average for me. I'm going to go with a 2 out of 5 flatly composited sewer grates. Okay. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Beta Melcock.
And we are your Geeky Gentlemen, and we will be discussing things.